Is your ego conning you into decisions that are not the right ones? I feel like I'm a bit of I can say I've got authority on this because I have made so many mistakes where ego's been at the steering wheel instead of doing what my gut and my heart truly want or need. And let me give some examples of how this could be showing up in your businesses or your lives, because this is not just a business thing, this is a lifestyle thing overall. A good one that people can connect to pretty simply would be the keeping up with the Joneses mentality. So I've definitely been trapped by this in the past where, you know, thinking that I have to have the car or the house or the this or the that, and not necessarily doing what is true to me because it's what everybody else does. And so if you are at times trapped by the mentality of keeping up with the Joneses, which is because everybody else is doing it, I suppose I better do it too, in business and in life, just be very careful, because just because you can doesn't mean you should. Business affords us a lot of luxuries and the ability to do a lot of things that aren't always truly in alignment with what we want as people. And so if we are led, like, that's an ego-based decision. It's a very in your head kind of, oh, I guess I should do this or do that. Should is a very good indicator. If you're saying that word, I should this or I should that, it is a good indicator that ego is driving the decision. And so what you want to consider is, what is it about me wanting to do that or saying I should do that? It's not even want, it's the feeling of should do it to do it. Find out what sits underneath that. What is it in you that's making you make that decision and you're letting your ego con you into that decision? I've done it with putting staff on in the past, to getting too big too quick. I've done it with, like I said, purchasing stuff. And did any of that make me happier? No, it didn't. In fact, it just made me feel dirty and made me feel sick because it wasn't what I actually wanted or what I actually needed. At the moment, another example of how ego might be at the steering wheel is where any business owner saying, this fuel thing shall be right. Now, I bet if everybody sat for a minute with their own thoughts and their gut and went, is this something that I need to pay attention to or ignore? Your gut would scream at you, pay attention. Your ego will say, she'll be right, she'll be right, she'll be right. Like, ego is so powerful. It will con you into things that are not real. It will tell you, because you're living in your head when you're in ego, and when you're living in your gut, you're more in a heart space, like a genuine, authentic place. But your ego is so good at making you believe things that are just not true. It will convince you that the problem is outside of yourself rather than inside of yourself. It will convince you that all I have to do is work harder. But if you stop for a minute and you think about, hang on, is working harder the answer? And this goes for ladies, tradies, all of you. Your gut will say no. You know it's not the answer. Ego plays a part in keeping us safe. It is built, our ego, each individual person's ego is built on the social constructs that you've been raised in, the way you've been taught, the belief system that you've got anchored into you. But authenticity is where the true answer lives, and that is in your gut. It is those instincts that say to you, or that are screaming at you, that the decision that you're about to make is not the right one. And if you go back over the history of your profession, your business, your relationships, your parenting, everything that you've ever done, the times that you have ignored your gut will be the times that it didn't go as you know it could have. Where you've gone, it's not the really, because the other thing ego will convince you of is that you'll need more staff. But the numbers, and you don't even have to look at the numbers, most of you. You have somebody like me look at your numbers and then tell you that you shouldn't be putting more staff on. But then I promise you, you'll try to convince yourself, and sometimes people even try to convince me that it's still the right decision to make, because ego is just conning you. But what are the sorts of decisions that maybe you're avoiding because even though your heart or your gut is telling you need to turn to face them? Or when has ego won? When have you let your ego get the better of you in a decision and then down the track gone, ugh, oh well, like, it is what it is? Because that's another freaking shit thing that I can't stand coming out of people's mouths all the time is, well, it is what it is. Guess what? Yep, the fuel situation is what it is, but how it is in your business is not what it is. It doesn't have to be. There are a ton of different ways that will work for you and be authentic to you that will help you get through this if you stop allowing your ego to con you into things that are just not true for you and for your life. So, how it shows up for you, ego, it will show up in a lot of different ways. It'll show up in how you parent. A good example of this is, kids and relationships are all reflections of ourselves, okay? Like it or lump it, we're all being reflected back who we truly are in our relationships. Communication is the response you get. If you can't communicate well, or you're not getting a good response back from the people around you, whether it be your partner, your kids, your in-laws, your parents, your staff, communication is the response you get. If you're not getting a good response, it is usually because of something that's happening in your communication. But ego will tell us that, oh, they just don't understand, or they're just a misbehaved kid, or that staff member doesn't give a fuck, or my wife or my husband is just being a fucking asshole. But that isn't the truth. If you stop for long enough and you ask yourself, hang on, where am I in all of this? And you put your ego on the shelf for long enough and go into a reflective process, usually what we find is, yeah, okay, maybe that didn't land as it was intended. But if you go through life backing yourself and doubling down on your own bullshit because your ego has conned you into it, good luck. It is a very dangerous game to play. And if you don't spend any time reflecting on yourself and who you are and the decisions that you make, then be careful. Just be careful. Ask somebody to hold the mirror up. It is the best thing that I ever did. So I get weekly psychology at the moment. It is like coaching for me because it coaches me in being a better human being, a better wife, a better business owner, a better leader, a better community person, a better daughter, a better sister. Have I got it all right? Absolutely freaking not. But the thing that is great about my psychology and how I'm growing from that is I'm actively going in there and saying, hey, James, my psychologist, I was triggered by this. I think it was because of that. Help me see where my ego is at the wheel. Help me unpack this and find out what's truly underneath that behavior for me, or that trigger for me, or that behavior for me, because holy, it is amazing what you can find when you ask for somebody to work through it with you. And this is where coaching's so powerful, is we hold the mirror up and we dig around in what you truly want first, get to know you. Like, one of our clients this morning, I did a director's call and she's like, you guys are like our best mates. Like, you are the people that we turn to when we want to know the truth. You care so much and you are so invested in the truth of what we want that when we aren't sure, you say, hey, hang on, but you told me this. That doesn't align up with the decision that you're about to make. Can we just check in on that? You can't get that from AI. if you've used ChatGPT and things like that, it will keep affirming what you believe to be true unless you train it to challenge you, which you can do by all means. But you'll never have a coach like our girls who is going to like fight for what you really want and fight for what is authentically you and help you see when your ego's at the wheel and driving the ship. Anyway, lots in there. Love to hear your thoughts. When has ego steered you off course, and what do you do to keep yourself on course? Really keen to hear.